All right, today we're diving into a cosmic crime scene. Seriously, it's a place where the laws of physics, as we know them, just seem to be breaking down, and it's left astronomers with a mystery that is, well, truly baffling. At the very heart of this whole thing is a case of cosmic cannibalism. Yeah, you heard that right. One star is systematically, piece by piece, devouring its partner. But here's the twist. The victim is somehow fighting back in a way that by all accounts should be totally impossible. So let's open the case file. So first up, let's meet our culprit. And honestly, it has a fittingly menacing name, the Black Widow Pulsar. Okay, so what is a pulsar? Imagine the super dense collapsed core of a giant star, spinning hundreds of times every single second. Now this one gets the name Black Widow because its ridiculously intense radiation and a wind of high-energy particles are just blasting its smaller companion star, stripping it away layer by layer, just like its spider namesake. But this is where our mystery really begins. When scientists started looking closely at this violent relationship, they found a huge puzzle. The physics of it all, it just didn't add up. See, on one side, you have the pulsar's wind. This isn't just a breeze, it's an unimaginably powerful force, like a cosmic blowtorch. And on the other side, you've got the little companion star, a small brown dwarf with incredibly weak gravity, barely holding itself together. Now, according to everything we know, that cosmic blowtorch should have completely vaporized the companion star ages and ages ago, and yet, it's still there.
And that is the central question of this whole investigation. Something is holding back that torrent of energy. Something is acting like an invisible shield. But what in the universe could be strong enough to do that?
Well, there was one really logical explanation, our prime suspect, if you will. The idea was that the companion star must be generating a powerful magnetic field of its own. You know, this field would create a protective bubble, a magnetosphere, that could perfectly balance out the pressure from the pulsar's wind. It was a clean, simple solution that just made sense. It explained everything. And here's the crucial part. Scientists did the math. They calculated exactly how strong this magnetic shield would need to be to hold its ground. And the number they came up with was at least 20 Gauss. Now, just for some perspective, that's about 40 times stronger than Earth's magnetic field at the surface. So remember that number, 20 Gauss. It's important. So with a time suspect identified and a very specific piece of evidence to look for, that 20 Gauss magnetic field, the investigation began. Astronomers got to work trying to find this invisible force field. They used this incredibly clever technique called plasma lensing. Think of it like a forensic tool. As the radio waves from the pulsar shoot out, they pass through the gas that's being stripped from the companion star. And that gas acts like a lens, bending and magnifying the signal. By studying exactly how that light is bent, you can figure out the properties of the gas it passed through, including any magnetic fields that might be hiding in there. And here's the specific clue they were hunting for. A magnetic field would cause this phenomenon called birefringence. Now what that means basically is that it would split the pulsar's radio signal into two parts and bend each part just a little bit differently. This would create a tiny but measurable shift between the two signals. It would be the definitive fingerprint of the magnetic field. So, the team pointed their radio telescopes at the system. They waited for the perfect moments when the pulsar's light was passing right through that gas lens, and they looked for that magnetic fingerprint. But what they found was absolutely nothing. This was a huge turning point. The lead scientists put it very plainly. They found no evidence for the magnetic field they were so sure they'd find. Our prime suspect, the one clean, simple explanation that made sense of everything, it just wasn't at the crime scene. So let's be crystal clear here. The physics, the math, everything predicted a shield with a strength of at least 20 Gauss. But what they actually measured was a field of less than 0.01 Gauss, which is, for all intents and purposes, zero. The shield wasn't just weaker than they thought, it was over 2,000 times too weak. It was gone. Of course, the investigators thought, okay, maybe the field is just hiding somehow. Could it be tangled up in tiny, rapidly changing loops? Nope, their measurements ruled that out. What if the field was just aligned perfectly so we couldn't see it, perpendicular to us? No, that would still affect the light in a way they didn't see. Well, could it be some weird kind of plasma made of electron-positron pairs that would cancel out the signal? That was ruled out too. They checked every alibi, and every single possibility came up empty. So, with their only suspect completely cleared, the detectives had to turn to other evidence. They looked at the system and X-rays, and you know what? They just found more clues that made the mystery even deeper. Using the Chandra X-ray Observatory, they saw this faint, ghostly nebula surrounding the whole system. This right here is the telltale sign of a ridiculously powerful shockwave. It's concrete evidence that the pulsar's wind really is as violent as they predicted. It's like finding the blast pattern at a crime scene. It confirms the sheer force hitting that little companion star, which makes its survival even more baffling.
Now, this is where it gets even stranger. Let's compare our Black Widow to a young, known powerhouse like the Crab Nebula Pulsar. Our Black Widow is ancient, billions of years old, and its own magnetic field is 10,000 times weaker than the Crab's. And yet, the X-ray data shows it's accelerating particles with almost the same shocking efficiency as its much younger, stronger cousin. This just confirms it. The weapon is every bit as powerful as we first thought, which makes the fact that there's no shield even more of a mind-bender.
Okay, so let's pull all the evidence together and just look at the case file. After all of this investigation, where does that leave us? And this is the core of the enigma, right here. The evidence shows a weapon of immense power. Check. The evidence also shows an impossible act of survival. Check. Something is holding that shockwave back. Check. But the only explanation we have for that survival, the only suspect in the case, a powerful magnetic shield, is definitively, without a doubt, missing from the scene. The scientists themselves, the ones who did this work, were left with only one conclusion. In their own words, the very nature of what's happening between these two stars is simply an enigma. And that's where the case stands today, an open file. We have a victim that should be long gone, a weapon that's confirmed to be terrifyingly powerful, and a shield that simply isn't there. It leaves us with this incredible question. Are we looking at some totally new kind of plasma physics we've never seen before, or is there an entirely unknown force at work in the tangled web of the Black Widow?